Hello, Reds fans, and happy Friday. Today is Friday, April 25th, and welcome to our Cincinnati Reds back into baseball after an off day on Thursday. I am Eric Phillips. I'm here joined by my brother, Cory T. Phillips. And Cory, there's a lot going on in the sports world right now. I know the Reds are, we're excited to get our boys back with an 8:40 start time out in Colorado this evening. But by the look of your attire, you're excited about something else this evening. What's up?
Yeah, man, real excited, man. Draft night's upon us. Just added our boy Shamar Stewart, Texas A&M defensive end to the Cincinnati Bengals roster. Welcome to Cincinnati, my guy. We are going to need some big things out of you on the defensive side of the football. We need you to help out Joe Burrow and the boys. So pretty excited to see what he can offer, man. But yeah, like you say, a big night in Cincinnati for not only the Bengals but also the Reds coming off a win against the Marlins. We got to keep her going here against the Rockies, man. We need to take 2 out of 3 against the Rockies and start getting stuff going here. But speaking of the draft, man, let's you always hear about the guys that are coming up, whether or not they get an A- or a B+ or this or that as far as their draft grades are concerned. So let's roll through these 2025 Cincinnati Reds up to this point, and let's give them our own draft grade and kind of see where we're standing or where you think we're standing as far as not player by player, but more positions, that sort of thing. So just looking at it as a whole, starting pitching, what kind of grade would you give our starting pitching up to this point?
Up until the last run for Lodolo and Hunter, I would have been an A+, and I would have been there pretty firmly. I think the length that they were able to give us for the first 2 weeks of the season, especially, gave this bullpen a chance to settle into some high leverage roles without having to have a bunch of innings eaters and put guys in spots where they were having to kind of pitch outside of themselves. We didn't eat a lot of innings there in that first part of the season, but this last time through, with Hunter only, I think, going 3, Lodolo only making it to the 4th. I think we had 3 consecutive starts there where we went like 4.1 innings with our starters. I'm going to knock them down to a B at this point. I love where they're at. I mean, we've got 2 of the top pitchers in baseball when they're at their best in Lodolo and Green. Not super impressed with what Nick Martinez has brought to the plate, but I think a B is where I sit right now because there is top end talent there, and there is that opportunity to get better. So I don't want to stay in that high A area, but they're definitely above average. And so with C being average, I think a B is the right place to put them for now.
Yeah, and I have them at an A myself. The only thing that kept me from an A+ was the couple rough starts that you were talking about. But honestly, with Hunter Green and the way Brady Singer's throwing the ball, man, they're absolutely lights out right now. Absolutely lights out. They've got a combined 2.98 ERA, which is absolutely wild, and they're just eating up innings like crazy. Hunter's gone 30 innings. Singer's already gone 27, so they're eating up a lot of innings and that sort of stuff too. So I feel like they're kind of leading the way. I did give them an A, but moving on, man, to the back end of the game when it comes to our pitching staff. How you feeling about our bullpen?
Again, it started off so hot. Well, outside of the Jabot start, we got a lot of promise, right? We had where we're sitting in this conversation a week or so ago, and we would have said Tony Santillan, Emilio Pagan, and Graham Ashcraft are all dudes that we trust to go in high leverage situations and go get the outs that we need. And to that point, they hadn't even given up runs. But here in this latest little stretch, everybody's gotten a little banged up. Pagan gets touched up for a couple home runs in the Mariners series. We lose a game that we definitely should have won after the Fraley Grand Slam. Things have happened to these guys. Santillan's not been as sharp. Graham commits the error in the field the other night. There's a couple of things that are kind of piling up a little bit that you knew these guys weren't going to be superheroes and carry 0 ERAs into the month of May. But just to see them kind of step back down to earth, they're not who we thought they were, though, because who we thought they were going to be was a pile of garbage, and they're much better than that. And so from a grade standpoint, I'm going to give them a C because I still don't fully know that we have a good handle on who our best guys are in certain situations. Like, I'm not sure who our best high leverage guy is right now because Pagan's getting touched up in the way that you can't get hit when you're a closer or you're the high leverage guy, and that's over the fence. I mean, he gives up the ball to Yastrzemski that I'm still not sure has landed into McCovey. And then the 2 balls that he gives up to the Mariners there, it's like that's the cardinal sin. You know what I mean? Like, between that and walking dudes, it's pick your poison. So you can either bring Alexis Diaz in and have him walk the bases loaded and then hopefully, Houdini himself out of a jam like he does, or it can be over in one swing of the bat when Pagan's on the mound. So those 2 situations scare me a little bit. The fact that Graham's starting to miss the strike zone a little bit more, it worries me. So I'm going to go for a C. and be average. But to be honest with you, I'll take that because at the beginning of the year, I thought this would be a failing grade by this point.
Yeah, and I kind of agree with you there. I wasn't 100% sure what to expect out of the bullpen. We put a lot of emphasis on bullpen depth right there at the very end of spring training and going into spring training. So I was concerned as to where we were going to go, but I kind of like what we've gotten so far. Like you say, there's a couple performances that got away from us. Haven't been seeing as good of performances as of late, but I really like what they provide on the back end. I like having. Go ahead.
Yeah, and kudos to Brent Suter, by the way. That 3-inning start that he makes the other day, when we have a bullpen day, just to kind of salvage a series, and that was an unbelievable performance, and what the bullpen was able to do that day, and then going to Carson Spires and the guttiness and what those guys were able to give on that day, like that's not lost on me either. I looked at Suter kind of as that you have to give him the rough innings situation, but hell, between Taylor Rogers and what Sam Mole's not been, and being hurt and everything, it's almost like Brent Suter might be our best left-handed option.
Yeah, right. It seems like it right now. Well, and especially coming off of the rough outing with Hunter Green the day before, that was a big spot. That was a game we absolutely needed to have. And so Suter coming out of the bullpen right there, that's a big start. There's a lot of ups and downs with our bullpen. Got a couple guys with A's. Got a couple. Well, not even a couple guys. I got a guy with an F, and that's Alexis Diaz. Kind of seeing the same exact thing we were seeing the last time. I'm really kind of glad we didn't force him right back into the closer's role and seeing the same old thing we were seeing last year. But I'm not sure what we've got to do to get my guy right. But I'm just not seeing the same old Alexis Diaz that I need to see. He's one of my few Fs on this roster as far as draft grades are concerned.
Yeah, and with Diaz, it's the situation that it's not going the wrong way for the reason I thought it would. It's bad, but it's not bad for the reason I thought he would come in as a head case and not want to be the setup guy. I don't know that he can be the setup guy. His stuff isn't accurate enough. He's not throwing enough strikes. He's not hitting the zone. His slider isn't anywhere near what it used to be. And those things can come back with some feel and some more time. But we're going to get into Spencer Steer here in a little bit. We can't have dudes sit up here and get right at the big league level. We don't have time for that. And right. Especially when you've got guys like Luis May and Zach Maxwell sitting there chomping at the bit, you don't let this string go very long. It's one of those situations that you can't. This isn't the place to get healthy. Maybe one day UNICEF will go into the bullpen business, but for right now, the Cincinnati Reds are the best we've got. And so, shout out to Joe Dirt there, by the way. But in doing this, you have to be a professional about it, and he has to understand that struggles are going to, struggles happen. You can't struggle up here for very long before we eventually have to make a move.
No, you're absolutely right. Moving on, man. Let's move on into the infield. What kind of grade would you give our infield right now? I've got us as a C. I think we need to be a little bit better defensively. We need to get a little bit more offense from the corner outfielders or from the corner infielders. I mean, not getting the offensive production there, obviously, but breaking it down a little bit. First and third, I've got us at a D. Second and short, got us at about an A-. We go as the middle of our infield goes. So right now, collectively, I've got us as a C. Need to see more out of first and third. A little bit more consistency out of McLain and Elly up the middle. But right now, I've got us about middle of the pack. What about you?
And it's funny because if you tell me first and third and I have to give that a grade, they're getting called by the truancy officer because they're not showing up for school. Like, they don't even get a grade. Like, that's how bad we are in the corners right now. We can't figure it out. We've got 4 dudes to play first and third, and we can't get it figured out between Steer, Candelario, Encarnacion Strand currently hurt, and these guys that are just an absolute non-existent right now. Like, that you can't do that. Those are power hitting positions and on most teams in baseball. But for some reason, we haven't been able to get that right. And with me, it's the reason of Jeimer Candelario. He's hitting the 118, I think, right now is where he's currently at. And so when you take a look at a dude hitting 118 and he's had 87 at bats, we're past the point of it's early. It's getting late fast. And there's $63 million, $64 million out there that if it goes to waste, let it go to waste. Let it sit on the bench. Let it be a pinch hit. Let it be something that's not getting right at the big league level. You have to eventually. Said the same thing with Diaz. I'm going to say the same thing with Spencer Steer. If you're not right, have a seat. Like, that's all we can do, because to just force these guys out there when you act like you don't have other options, There's another option that just got, promoted to AAA, and he's going to play in the next game that the bats are in, and that's Tyler Stevenson's going to come back up. That's going to fill some DH role. Yeah, I mean, we're talking about Austin Wynns and things, and we'll get into the catchers here in a minute. But if you're talking about first and third, it's an F, and it's to the point that they didn't even show up for school. Middle of the infield, I'm right there at a B. I think they're good. They're very serviceable. They're not what I want them to be quite yet. Like, I want them to be the leaders of the team. Matt McLain's not doing that with a stick. Elly's had, a few of the glove issues, but at the same time, I think when you and I were on here last, we got to talking, and I kind of went in on Elly a little too deep. And I said he's not the superstar. He's not the leader. He's not this. He's not that. Elly's an unbelievable person, and the outs above average that those guys kept quoting in terms of like guys that had hate on Elly, yeah, that was rough. But we were in a situation where Elly had made 6 errors through however many games. He was on pace for 50 errors, and every game that Elly makes an error, we're losing. We were literally 0-5 in games that Elly had errors, and so I was a little heated. Got the Twitter fingers, fired off a little fast, and may have came off a little more aggressive than what it need to be. Elly De La Cruz is the superstar that drives this ship, and he's the thing that we're building around. And so when we talk about Elly in the middle of the infield, it's a B for now. They're going to carry us. Like, these guys can be the Rhodes Scholars and valedictorians that we need them to be in this classroom. So when we're talking about grades, it's a B, but it's a B for not for lack of effort. It's just, we haven't found their right timing yet to really excel and become that A+ situation that we know they can be.
Oh, absolutely. And that makes sense. It's an optimistic B. I mean, it's looking forward. Are they playing absolutely perfect? No. But when you see Elly, lay out and do the Jumpman logo across the middle of the infield, and you see Suter getting all excited and that sort of thing, it's hard not to corral around that, man, and get going. And I've even noticed a little bit of a change, even just with Matt McLain being in the lineup, just the camaraderie around it and that sort of thing. He brings a charge, even if he's not necessarily putting up the numbers, he's still hitting the ball hard. He's the camaraderie with him and Elly's undeniable. So I feel like we go as our middle infielders go for sure. But moving on to the outfield, man, I've got our outfield as a C+. And then as I was looking down through the roster, man, and looking at the outfield and that sort of thing, everybody's kind of trending up right now. It's an optimistic C+. Hayes is looking like the savior we needed him to be. Granted, he's not to keep up that level of consistency is almost unheard of, but he's been kind of the savior with the power. And Friedo's granted, the overthrow the other day is a blunder, but Friedo's one of those grinded out guys that'll make the play when you need him to, lay down the bunt, that sort of stuff. So almost everybody in our outfield right now is trending up, especially Jake Fraley. God, I love seeing the way 27's approaching the plate right now, man. It's
how awesome is that for that dude to just come off the mat? And I mean, where I'm ready to punt Steer, Candelario, and even Encarnacion Strand before he went out, where we're ready to sit those dudes, Jake Fraley was below that. Like, he was in a bad spot to get off the mat the way that he's done. It's like we're in a really it's a fun time to watch this outfield. And I like you said, I'm really excited to see where they get from here. From a grading standpoint, to me, it's a B. They're serviceable. They're serviceable dudes. Austin Hayes looks like a professional. We have a professional left fielder that should play every day. We have a professional center fielder in TJ Friedl. If Jake hits the baseball, it's a good right field. They've played good defense, in my opinion, for the most part. We're going to talk more about the TJ Friedl overthrow and stuff, but yeah, I like where the outfield's at. I like when Gavin Lux is out there. I don't feel like he's been terrible. I wouldn't mind seeing Santiago Espinal against left-handed pitching out there and right a little bit to start to get that motor going. Because other than that, we're kind of sitting him on the bench with Noelvi playing out of his mind over at third, which is somebody we didn't touch on. We were talking about the corner infield, by the way. It is an F, and those guys are non-existent. Noelvi hasn't been there long enough, or hasn't been up long enough, and hasn't produced that on a long enough track record to be graded quite yet, in my opinion. So we'll see where Noelvi goes, but exciting signs there at third base. But yeah, I think from an outfield standpoint, if we're talking about this 2 weeks ago or a week ago when you and I were on here, the outfield is the bane of our existence. Now, there's the corner infield is really the highlight. Terrible spot on the squad right now.
I was definitely trending up. I'm going to buck you on the Santiago Espinal playing right field. I am not about putting infielders in the outfield. It really drives me absolutely insane. Putting Gavin Lux out in left field, or finding a spot for Gavin Lux, that's a different story. You've got to keep his at bat in the lineup. But I'm getting kind of sick of watching these guys play out of position just because we got to try to find a spot for them. Go find me guys that can play right field. Let's play some defense and get after it. But with Gavin Lux, man, I feel like he's kind of been another offensive MVP. His at bats are just professional, night in, night out. My guy's seeing 5 and 6 pitches almost every at bat, putting barrel on the ball quite a bit. Don't get me wrong; he's had some lefty-lefty matchups that weren't advantageous, and I'm still kind of scratching my head on why we would leave him in some of those lefty-on-lefty matchups. But the way he's been swinging the bat and playing good baseball, I can't. I guess I can't go against Terry Francona for keeping the hot hand in there, but by the same token, yeah, that's not what we brought him in here for. But Gavin Lux has been an absolute delight for the 2025 Reds for sure.
Yeah, I mean, hitting 316, and coming in, and I worked out in California for a little bit and had some Dodger fans still keep in touch with a lot of them. I asked them what we were getting in Gavin Lux, and they said it's a guy that's on the rise that never got a full run because of injuries and just the situation with Mookie Betts and where he was playing. And he just played behind some guys and never really got a full chance to be an everyday starter. But they truly believe that if he had the chance to play every day, he would be not just a serviceable guy, but a very good player and a contributor to a winning team. And I think, like you said, Trace talks about it all the time. He's mentioned it 3 or 4 times this week. Professional at bats. Don't stand up there. And we went through the pitch counts and how many pitches each guy's taking in each at bat. By the way, no surprise, Jeimer Candelario's got significantly worse, and he's the worst on the team in terms of that in that stat. But it's ridiculous to watch the night and day difference between these guys' approach. And it makes me wonder, like, how do you get so right with some guys and dudes are on board and willing to contribute, and it's so wrong, like not just wrong, but so wrong with others. Like Encarnacion Strand wasn't even seeing 3 pitches in at bat, it seemed like dude was swinging at the first 2 high fastballs that he saw, and he's going to pop one of them up, or he was going to miss 3 altogether and then be down and out. So I'm not looking for CES to come back and be a contributor in any way, because I don't think his head's right. Like, I don't think that's an injury thing. I think that's more in his head than anything else. Dude's just not seeing it. But when it comes to, what these guys are doing and how they're getting Gavin Lux at bats, I think the outfield, I think we're there. I think we're very serviceable. I think those dudes, those 3 in particular, in Hayes, Friedel, Fraley, add in Gavin Lux as a 4th outfielder. I like where we are. Not super impressed with what Blake Dunn's produced. I feel like he's a grinder kind of guy, but at the same time, you gotta give us more, man. You got to give us better at bats. You got to do something really, really well. And I've not seen that one thing from Blake Dunn really stand out. He's not run the bases in an unbelievable fashion. He's not taking pitches at a great rate to help the team. He's not playing spectacular defense, although he has made 1 or 2 plays out there. It just, if you're going to be a terrible at bat, if you're going to hit, what is he at right now? Blake Dunn is hitting, if you're going to hit 176, you better have the leather. Like, you better come with the other half of the ball. And I'm not sure that that's there for Blake Dunn. I'm not sure how long he is for this role.
Yeah, I completely understand where you're coming from there. But spinning off the Gavin Lux thing, you were talking to your guys from California about how he just never really got a chance to play every day, that sort of thing. But we've got a really good player. That kind of leads us into our catchers. Your boy, Austin Wynns. Austin Wynns is just setting the world on fire right now, man. It is wild. But I was listening to Charlie Goldsmith talking the other day, and he had said, I've always had him listed as like a top 60 catcher in Major League Baseball. He's just never had a chance to actually platoon on a regular basis and be that first or second catcher on a regular basis. And now here we are. We're getting a chance to see this guy shine. And, I mean, it's absolutely unreal, man. A 1,400 OPS. A 1,400 OPS, like that's just setting the world on fire, man. Like it's fun to watch, man. Our catchers, I'm grading them at an A+ right now. We've got to get a little bit better with pop time, protecting our runners, keeping our guys from stealing, that sort of thing. But the offensive production that Trevino is providing and Wynns is providing, I mean, it's unspeakable for this lineup.
Yeah, no, and did you know, like, if I asked you who's one of the oldest guys on the roster? Who do you think's older, Trevino or Austin Wynns?
I would say Trevino off the top of my head.
You would think, right? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
You've heard that name forever and stuff like that. I think Austin Wynns is actually 34, and Jose Trevino is 32. And so Austin Wynns he's a seasoned cat. Like, this is something that there's coming out of left field, and then there's coming out of the freaking dungeon is where this cat was. Like
Right.
never having the opportunity. And he talked about it. He said, I'm trying to establish myself the opportunity to play every day. And Cat, you keep hitting 500 and ripping balls like you are, especially in timely situations. And that's something overall that I would like to talk about. When we're said and done here, I know you and I kind of laid out what position groups we want to do here, but I'm going to throw one extra one on you as a wild card here.
Yep.
But with the catching group, we have to give an A. The A plus could come in, like you said, with pop time and just throwing dudes out. But from a defensive standpoint, I think the games that they're calling, I think the control of not just individual guys. I love that we're not in a situation where this catcher catches this pitcher, like Hunter Green has thrown to both Trevino and Austin Wynns.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that that's something that we've always had that that comfort with. But in talking to these guys, and the pitching staff can't talk enough about Austin and Jose and their preparedness and how much they're getting ready and how much the game is easier because these dudes are so prepared and ready to go each and every day. And then the fact that they carry the stick better than anybody right now, it's you can't ask for any more. And to get it from the catcher's position, it's what's keeping us, from being in the tank right now. It really is.
No, you're absolutely right. My two A grades that I've gotten are our pitchers and our catchers. So right now, I think our batteries are keeping us afloat, man. If we can get this offense to go with it, where God only knows what this team can do. But right now, I've got our pitchers and catchers kind of bringing in the front end.
Yeah, and that's I'm going to ask you for one more grade, and that's the coaching.
Deep South Commodities is a proud supporter of Chatterbox Reds and our deep drive of the day. And DSC is a leader in renewable commodities for biofuel production, specializing in used cooking oil collection, aggregation, and sales. Visit www.deepsouthcommodities.com for more information. Thanks as always to our friends at DSC. Game Time is the official ticketing partner of Chatterbox Sports. If you're like me and you always are trying to get last-minute tickets, not sure when you're going to be able to get down to the ballpark, Game Time is the best app for that. The best last-minute deals. Even if you wait till the last minute, you can still find deals sometimes even better than you would have found earlier in the week. Some of my favorite features of Game Time is they have all-in pricing. It shows you your total with fees before checking out. They have a panoramic seat view in their app. You can see exactly where your seat is, get a great view and layout of the land. They also have event cancellation protection, automatic full refunds for events that are canceled and not rescheduled, and as always, the lowest price guaranteed, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code CBOX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code CBOX, CBOX, for $20 off. What time is it? Game Time. And we also want to remind you that you can call or text 988 anytime, day or night. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is a place to get support for anything related to mental health. Whether it's an immediate crisis, simply wanting to find out how to connect with care, or anything in between, it's a 100% confidential, secure, and anonymous way to reach out for help when you don't know where else to turn. To connect, call or text 988 or visit mantherapy.org to get help. It's okay not to be okay.
How do you feel from a management standpoint? Not just Francona. Let's throw in J.R. House down at third base and the questionable decisions we've seen him make. Never going to get too high on a third base coach because every situation is different, all that stuff, and the runners and the what's going on. But at the end of the day, he's a big boy. He gets paid to do what he does. When you talk about Derek Johnson, coming from the pitching staff, and how he's controlled them and where he's got them. Chris Valleca as a hitting coach. How do you think from a management standpoint, the coaching on the field and what we've done? Where would you grade us out there?
Right now, I'd give us a B. It's an optimistic B. There's some
Really?
questionable. I really honestly would, only because there's some questionable decisions and like with the lefty on lefty matchups and that sort of stuff. But from an overall perspective, I feel like our at-bats are getting better. Valleca and those guys' approach is starting to come around. Obviously, the pitching staff and Derek Johnson and those guys have their stuff together. I guess my only real questions are some of the decisions coming out of our leader as far as situationally, but I think it's coaching that's keeping us from winning some of these ball games. I do not. I think it's our mental preparedness and overlooking some of the details in the game. You know what I mean? And
Focus.
That's kind of where our
focus.
Yeah, there it is. That's the word I was looking for. Yes.
And it's unbelievable. And I'm gonna go D on where we're at from a management standpoint, like and what these guys have done. Only I say only. At some point in time, somebody has to stand up and say that TJ Friedl can't overthrow that ball and give that dude second base. At some point in time, the stupid mistakes that we've made on the base paths, that we've made with the baseball, all these different attributes. Oh, it's just it's a part of the game, and da da da. Yeah, no, I get it, but nobody wants to hold anybody. And everybody talks about, what's accountability? What's that mean? Does that mean that guy sits? Do you bench him for a day? No. Go throw his name out and rake him over the coals in the press. Do something that acknowledges the fact that, hey, we messed up, and that probably just cost us a ball game. And if it's not from him, and I guess the management side kind of goes into the team leaders too. I don't know who in the squad, who in the clubhouse has the opportunity to come out and say, TJ blew it for us the other night when he throws that ball over the cutoff and doesn't throw it through the head like he should to keep a guy there, like we've learned since we were 12 years old. I don't know who has to be able to, step up and be able to put that out there to where we have our pound of flesh as we're all sitting around wondering why. And if there's nobody there to hold anybody, you got to hold feet to the fire. Admitting mistake is one thing. Doing something about it is another. Giving a guy shame, something has to change, or what insanity is expecting the same or seeing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
Absolutely.
We're insane to sit here and watch this team over and over and over again and pour our hearts into this and have the opportunity to get a little bit excited about a baseball team that's going to go out. And I thought this was gone when Stuart Fairchild left. I really did. I thought when we were done forgetting about catching fly balls and not knowing how many outs there were in inning. I'm tired of watching all these little minuscule plays absolutely blow us up when we're talking about, these guys talk about the margin. We're not deep enough in our pocketbook in order to say that we can, go out and win these games on talent alone. That's not what it is. When you're in these one-run ball games that we've had several of, and these little margins kind of don't go in your way and don't go in your favor, somebody's got to pay for it. If it's a reliever that comes in and blows the save for you on a continual basis and gets you beat by a run, you eventually sit his ass down. If it's going to be the same mistake, now, is it the same guy making the mistake? No. But as a team and as a culture, something has to change. Because Tito is 25 games into this thing, and on top of making questionable decisions from a matchup standpoint that he can't back up in fact, I'm all about going with your gut. If he comes out and tells me, I think Jake Fraley should have batted against that left-handed bat or against that left-handed pitcher because I love the way Jake's swinging the bat right now. If that's what he says, I can live with that. I'm okay with that. Now, Nick, on the other hand, Kirby's going to lose his damn mind when he knows that you left somebody sitting on the bench that has a way better righty-lefty split or whatever it is that, bypass that decision. He's going to lose it. I'm not. If you want to go with gut, Cat, you got a World Series ring. I've got this nice little sign on my wall. That's about how much baseball knowledge I've got. I'm not going to second-guess a World Series champion in that aspect, but I will second-guess the leadership and culture of an organization that can't figure out how to run the bases well and how to freaking play defense with a consistency that doesn't lose you a ball game. I'm not asking TJ Friedl to go make, all-star caliber plays in center field. I'm asking him not to be a moron in situations where it's going to lose us a ball game, and it absolutely does. And it's not the first time that it's happened this year. Right. Jake Fraley's launched one, from different spots. Candelario, Elly, everybody's had the airs and things like that. Just routine plays aren't being made routinely. And to me, that's culture. That's somebody in leadership. I don't know whose responsibility it is. Somebody's got to start raking names over the coals. Something has to change. Otherwise, we are in for more Stuart Fairchild play. And it's unacceptable. And as a fan base, it's the most annoying thing in the world to watch.
Well, that's where the frustration comes in as a fan base. It's the attention to detail. If you're going to get beat by a better baseball team night in and night out, that kind of stuff happens. I can live with that. It's the mental mistakes that are costing you. It's the overthrows. It's the picking the ball up at first and trying not to hit the runner running down the line so you throw it in the right field that are costing you these one-run games. It's the attention to detail. Clock in, go to work, grind it out, know what you're going to do with the ball before you get it, have the plays made up. The base running errors are just it's absolutely infuriating to watch guys run into outs at third base, and it's driving me nuts. If I see one more runner get picked off while he's running to second base and the pitcher's still holding the ball, I'm going to lose my mind. Like, it's driving me absolutely crazy. We're running ourselves out of innings constantly.
Yeah.
It's the frustration because there's just no attention to detail. I'm okay with getting beat by better teams. I cannot stand beating ourselves, and we seem to beat ourselves a lot. So if we can get over those little humps, you win half of those 1-run games instead of losing. You know what I mean? Being on the losing end of them, it makes the season a completely different. It gives a completely different complex on the season. But as it stands right now, it's just not there, and I'm not sure what we got to do to get over it. But like you say, if it's leadership, let's get after it.
Yeah. I mean, we both work as a barber, man. Like, let's say you fall asleep at the wheel for a day and somebody's bangs get cut short. Guess what happens?
Lose a client out of that one.
Yeah. Word of mouth gets out and somebody figures out, like, hey man, look what this cat did. And all of a sudden you got money not sitting in your chair anymore. Like, these kinds of things in a normal situation, you can't just show up and continue to make these mistakes over and over and over again and expect to just keep your job. What'd you say? It's 162 games. You got to focus for 3 hours. Right. Yes, their job is a lot more than that. It's the time in the cage. It's the weight training. It's all that stuff. That's why they're also getting paid a league minimum $750,000, whatever it is this year. Like, there's a decent amount of incentive in coming back in the opposite direction. And these guys have worked all their lives to get here. I don't know what it takes to take it from here's where we are as the Cincinnati Reds. Here's where we are as a culture now because we're a smart baseball team and a fundamental and a gritty baseball team. This is who we are now because we decided to take this measure to become smarter baseball players. And I think some of it also stems from look at who your leader on the team is. And Elly's a freak athlete. And that's the problem with having a freak athlete as your leader is you can't just go, repeat what he does. But at the same time, when he makes the routine boot that, when he does have the errors and things like that, to hold him accountable is hard because good luck telling that guy to calm down. Like that you're going to absolutely handcuff that guy to the point that he's not the player that he can be. You lower his ceiling when you try to rein him in. And so you have to kind of let him go. There's no reining in of TJ Friedl. Cat's he's on the bottom quarter of the league. He's one of the slowest, center fielders in baseball. He's providing us with the stick right now, and I like what he's done in the leadoff role, and I do actually like TJ Friedl. I think he might be a better corner outfielder than a center fielder, but that's for another day. But it's one of those things of like, TJ, you're not good enough to make the mistakes that Elly makes. Like, I understand the leader's doing it. The leader can also mash 2 taters and win us a ball game by stealing every base in the ballpark and walking us out of here in a 4-3 fashion by giving up 3, but making 4 on his own. If you're not going to do that, if you can't bring that ceiling to the table, like, it's a different set of rules for everybody, man. Like, you're penalized, you're punished, you're whatever it is by the level of talent that you bring to the table. If the 5-star recruit down at Georgia, can't figure out how to drive, there's a little more leniency than when the water boy goes out and does the same kind of crime. Like, water boy goes, 5-star gets to stay. Like, that's the world. That's sports, man. And it drives me freaking insane to watch little mistakes that are very basic baseball instincts. Like the other day when we can't figure out, we're in the Mariners series and Brady Singer can't go another inning because he blew 25 pitches because he couldn't get 2 foul balls caught between Santiago, and it was Santiago Espinal's fault on both of them. He ran into the outfield way too far on one and then wanted a catcher to catch a ball moving up the third baseline on another.
Yeah, he's got to call him off there.
Yeah, it's and Espinal's supposed to be your leather man. Like, that's your glove. That's the guy that you count on to, kind of bring this consistency. And if you're going to have a team of professionalism, you know what I mean? I think back to the days when the team was good and like who we had in what positions of things. Orlando Cabrera always seemed to have that pep of like, we're going to make these plays, like routine ground balls that get booted and things like that. Like, those are effort plays that happen. Like, those are mistakes that, come and go in a ball game. But not knowing where to throw, not, running yourself into an out at third base or, like you said, taking off when the pitcher's still holding the ball. Those are things that can be avoided that are all about mental focus that we've got to do something to bring in. What's the guy's name that goes in and blows everybody's mind by hiding a card and a piece of fruit or something like that? You see him in all the NFL jobs.
Oh, David Blaine. Yeah.
No, not David Blaine. There's another one. Is it like it's not Dr. Oz. Anyway. Bring in a mentalist of some sort to just kind of blow these guys' minds and figure out whatever it takes. Give them zins give them whatever it takes to calm these cats down and freaking just play the baseball the right way on a consistent basis and don't. Nobody needs to try to be a hero outside of the shortstop. I'll put it that way. So TJ, love you, man. Like, love what you're doing. I do think you can contribute to this team in a big way. You ain't got it from out there with that cannon the other day in the overthrow. Like that's never going to be the play for us. Like that stay in your lane, play good defensive center field, be the gritty guy, and let's move on and contribute to the team in a positive fashion rather than taking away from it and losing us another 1-run ball game again.
No, absolutely. And I understand. I completely understand why he's trying to make that play. That's a big run in that spot. Don't get me wrong. But by the same token, you got to stay within yourself a little bit. But on a more positive note, man, we just coming off a win against Miami, and we're heading into what should be a positive series against the Colorado Rockies. I always seem to play well out in Denver, and boy, do we really need it right now after losing 2-3 to the Marlins.
Yeah, and then you're in a situation where if you take those, we talked about the golf holes and things like that, and then going 9 games at a time. By the way, the second hole we birdied and brought ourselves back to even par. Now we're kind of stumbling out of the gate in hole 3, but we'll save that for another day, maybe next Friday when we're jumping on here. But in this situation, you started off 2-4 on a homestand, then went 3-4 on the road, but then you went 4-2 at home. And then your next pot of games is a 9-game road trip, and you're currently 3-3. So if you go out and win in Colorado, that's 2 consecutive lumps in the schedule where you've got a winning record. And that, you keep stacking those on top of one another, and I think the results will be where you want them to be. But being 3-3 on this road trip currently, that game in Miami, to scratch out that game 3, that felt like it was something of importance. And then you get the day off today, and now we're out in Colorado, and you're not just playing, in Colorado, where you're right, we have played well in the past. You're going out there with the best version of yourself and having Andrew Abbott, Hunter Green, and Nick Lodolo lined up to throw in this 3-game set against a team that's 4-18. They're absolutely horrendous. But I also said that about the Miami Marlins a couple weeks ago, and look what happens. So I don't want to speak too ill will of the Rockies, and out there, like, things can happen. But barring their last start between Lodolo and Hunter, they are missing bats. Andrew Abbott's missing bats at a high rate. If you miss bats in Colorado, then all of a sudden the thin air doesn't matter. So if we get high strikeout games from all 3 of these guys and have a situation where they can get 6 innings, quality starts from all 3 of them is what we hope to see. And be in a situation where hopefully some of this thin air and a lot of the hard contact that we've had, like Matt McLain hitting a ball that would have been a home run in 10 out of 30 ballparks the other day in Miami. Like, it feels like he's starting to come around. Fraley's starting to barrel up some balls. The catching juggernaut that we have, and Elly's due to get on a hot streak here at some point in time as well. With these 3 pitchers going into Colorado, the Cincinnati Reds aren't a better baseball team than what we're going to be in this 3-game set. Maybe with the addition of Tyler Stevenson here in a couple of weeks, but like, this feels like a series that a win, 2 out of 3 is great, but that feels like the minimum. Like, this should be a sweep. We're a better baseball team. We need to go prove it. Over 162, baseball's a funny game. You got to show up and play every day. Like, things can happen. I get it. But what you can't have is go out there and have your bats get stifled by left-hander Kyle Freeland on Friday night. Those are the kinds of things that, like, you're supposed to beat these teams, and then, like, one thing goes off, and dude from Miami has 14 strikeouts in 6.5 innings or whatever it was, and it's like, that's a good performance. And if you get beat by a better baseball team, I get it, but, like, understand what's at stake here. Go in there with the mindset to beat that left-handed pitcher, however, whatever that means. If that means taking pitches, take pitches. If that means jumping on it, jump on it, and make hard contact. Do whatever you have to do to get these 3 games, get yourself back above 500. And then have this thing end up as a winning road trip, and you've got 2 consecutive pods, and you're coming back home to play a team that's also, kind of licking wounds right now in the St. Louis Cardinals that, we would love to maybe put not a nail in the coffin, but, maybe start making funeral arrangements for a team if we can come back home and do some damage in a 4-game set against St. Louis.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. That Miami game is a big game just from a mindset standpoint. You lose that game, and we're definitely licking our wounds on the day off and wondering where we're going to go from here, and really not looking too optimistic into the Rockies series. But getting that win was definitely gritty. Helps us out. We need to go out here and, like you say, at least take 2 out of 3, if not sweep them, springboard us into this Cardinals series, because really looking forward to the Cardinals coming to town and putting it on them, man. I
Yeah.
there's nobody I like beating more than the dang Cardinals. So
Yeah, no, it's always fun, and I'm going to be with a bunch of folks that are actually Cardinals fans on Monday and Tuesday in the ballpark, and so I'm really looking forward to that series from a just being able to go down in a 10 standpoint because I'm ready to give it to them. I'm ready to bury them in the cellar where they belong. But getting into that schedule, Game Time is a sponsor here, and I want to let you know that right now, currently on Game Time for next week, if you wanted to go for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday down to the ballpark, you're all in pricing. So this is taxes, fees, everything included. There's not a game more expensive than $14. Monday, you can get in for $10. Tuesday is $14. Wednesday is $9. And Thursday is $10. I mean, it doesn't get much more affordable than that. There are decent parking spots. I've seen $10 parking downtown. I've seen $5 parking if you're willing to make the walk. These games are affordable. It's kind of interesting because like our attendance is down versus our average a year ago. We're averaging right around 21,000 a game, but we've not played a ton of weekend series. We haven't gotten into fireworks Fridays and things like that. And so naturally, as we get more weekend series, like that will elevate. And we'll have one next weekend after the Cards leave town. The Washington Nationals come to town. But when we start to get into kids being out of school, and we talked about this last time, you're going to get back to that average that you carried last year. But we're sitting right around 20th in Major League Baseball in attendance. But I would love to see that kind of tick up a little bit because, man, these guys are going to need us. And I think the more, I don't want to say pressure we put on them, but the more fan energy and things like that we can feel in the ballpark, even with 16,000, we've been impactful. And it's been a lot of fun down there. That Mariner series was crushing to watch us lose a game that way. I mean, that Wednesday game was a blast, but man, it'll be a lot of fun if we can get ourselves, in a situation where we're routinely drawing over 30 and pushing this team to some success as we get along in the summer. But for right now, man, the price of tickets, it's cheap. You can get in for under $15 a spot. Get out there for that next 4-game series because these guys are looking for us to be there.
Oh, absolutely. So get yourself out to the ballpark, make some noise. Let's get behind our boys, man. We got to start catapulting our way forward because it's not going to be early for too much longer. We've got to start getting this thing rolling. So get yourself down to the ballpark. Let's get behind our boys, make some noise while you're there, and have some fun, man. It's a good time.
Yeah, I mean, after this Colorado series, you're talking about being 31 games into the season, I believe. And if that's the case, that's 20% of the season gone, man. Like it's
Right.
enough to stop talking about early. I mean, we've given these guys plenty of at-bats and things like that. Like there are some arguments to be made about, oh, he's coming back from this. Oh, it's still cold. Oh, he's always a slow starter. It's okay. At some point in time, it's time to produce, and I think that's a thing where I hope Candelario gets better. I don't foresee it happening, but at the same time, you've got dudes that are starting to hopefully press the envelope a little bit down there, and like your Tyler Callahans and guys like that are sitting down there in Louisville. Like, when do we start pressing these buttons? When does Alexis Diaz go on a rehab assignment or a phantom IL stretch so that he can go and try to get himself figured out while we bring up Luis May and Zach Maxwell? Like, when can we start to kind of flex a little bit of this depth that we have? And I'm not saying overhaul the roster because I think we're at like an everyday 7 right now that I enjoy, but we're getting to a part of the season where you've got some big dogs coming up. I mean, we had laid it out that Miami wasn't great, Pittsburgh wasn't great, Colorado's not great. Like, these are series that you need to win, here in April to give yourself a chance. Finish the month of April with a winning record if you can take care of business here, and then produce well in the St. Louis series. So finish the month of April strong. Hopefully, have a winning record going into May. That's my goal. That's my hope for this team. If we're there, we've got a chip in a chair, and Tyler Stevenson's coming back because this is going to be a divisional race. This is not the wild card. You can't win it in May or in April, but man, it certainly seems like we've lost it because we're not keeping up with the likes of the NL West and the National League East. I mean, that the Phillies, the Mets, the Braves, the Dodgers, the Braves aren't playing well right now, but the Dodgers, the Padres, and the Diamondbacks, they are going to run away with this thing, and the wild card is going to be a very, very hard achievement. You're going to probably be looking at over 90 wins in order to win the wild card. But I think the division is still very much within reach when you've got the Cubs coming up, and you're going to get to play them 18 times this year. Like, it's going to have to be an NL Central or bust situation. And so hopefully, we've got the manpower and we can kind of stack up, because I think across the board, they've got a little bit more talent on, in the position players, but I think from a starting pitching standpoint, I think we are better than them 4 out of 5 times. So it'll be a lot of fun to see that thing, kind of develop as the season goes on. But yeah, definitely keep an eye on that Wrigley score every day, because that's going to be the one that we're chasing, I think, for the foreseeable future.
Oh yeah, I think you're right. The National League definitely stacks up pretty tall, so it's going to be a divisional race. A wild card's going to be a long shot for sure, but hopefully we can get. I just want to play meaningful baseball in September. If we're playing meaningful baseball in September, I'll take it. So whatever we got to do to get to that point, let's do that.
Yeah, and I think the fun part of all this is, like, it is still early from how many games we actually played, but meaningful baseball without taking that deep stretch of, it always seemed like David Bell had an 8 or 9 game losing streak in him at least once a season. That, like, once that happened, you cut off. Like, if they're below 500 in July and they go on like a 6-game slide, the season's not over for most fans, but or the season is over for most fans from that standpoint. Now, a lot of us that are, trying to be diehard, or not, you want to be diehards, and we're going to talk about the team on a consistent basis. Like, we're still going to stay, and we're going to, follow these guys, down the back half of the season. To watch Tyler Stevenson tear the cover off the ball last year was awesome. Even though we weren't playing meaningful baseball, but watching some of these guys develop and try to figure out what next year looks like, that is fun. But you want to keep those casuals in, man. That's the difference between drawing 21,000 and drawing 30,000. Is, does a game in July mean something? And when the Cubs come to town, is it the most important series of the year? And does it have that playoff thickness in the air that it feels like we need to take care of business? Because if we don't, we're going to find ourselves on the wrong end of this thing. And at the end of the season, we're not going to be happy with where we end up. So I just don't hit that big slide, I think, is the biggest thing to avoid. And that's why, again, that Miami win feels like that was a stopgap of, like, okay, stop the bleeding. We had lost 2 in a row, 2 games that we had an opportunity to win in all reality, but you kind of let them slide through sloppiness. And so when you get that win and you're starting to, kind of get things going, if you're avoiding those long series of ineptness, that's where I think this team can be different. And I'm hoping that's what Tito can bring when he talks about the day in and day out stuff and go win every game. He doesn't look ahead. He tries to stay there. So I'm not all out on Tito by any means. I know some of the times, these things will get cut up and it'll sound like I'm the biggest, Francona fired guy on the internet, but that's not the case in any way, shape, or form. I do think this team is in a better spot from how we're approaching the season and just our competitiveness day in and day out. I think it's the focus that now needs to come along with that, because otherwise we can be competitive, but losing 1-run games or losing them by 10, guess what? It still ends up not in the playoffs. So that's where we're at from there. But hey, man, watching the end of this draft here, I don't know if Shador's been taken yet or not. I know we saw the Bengals pick. I saw a couple other guys, in the AFC North there get taken, but really excited to see how this thing shakes out. I hope whatever team you guys root for out there, you got your favorite player and you've got a stud for the future. But it should be a lot of fun. Corey T, you got anything else, man, before we wrap this one up?
Nope. As always, man, go Reds.
Yeah, wait, and go Reds. And as we're talking about
sorry,
that, I didn't want to. No, you're good. I didn't want to end that one. I just wanted to remind folks that today we're just doing a quick recap, getting you guys some off day content. As we get into ready to go first pitch out in Colorado tonight, when we've got Andrew Abbott going on the mound, and then Hunter Green tomorrow, Lodolo the day after out in Colorado. But should be a fun 3-game set. But as we go into next week, you and I actually start picking up. Next time you guys see us, there's no more off days. Next time you see us, it's going to be post-game recaps on Fridays and Saturdays, starting right there before Cinco de Mayo. So going to be a lot of fun. Really looking forward to getting into that and having an immediate game reaction to talk and figure it out. And you guys can start to see a little bit of this passion that Corey and I have for this team. And I don't know if we have a dump button or what it is. We still got to talk to Kirby and Trace about that, but the enthusiasm is going to be there when we start watching in the night. That's going to be a lot of fun. And I know, watching it with Nick and Trace and those guys and even Spalding and them, watching those games live with them in the ninth, it's going to be a lot of fun. And we can't wait to, really get this ride started. The off days have been fun, but I'm done with the several week recap. I'm ready for the game analysis, as we get into the month of May, and I'm looking forward to getting that started with you, man.
Oh, absolutely, man. I can't wait. I get to sit and watch the Reds baseball with my little brother, man. It's couldn't be any better. We're definitely we'll bring the enthusiasm and bring the noise. I'm looking forward to going live.
Yeah, it's gonna be a blast. Now send us out of here.
Yeah, as always, go Reds.